Zoom tar ni chalo kebe ke chide ja kagita.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, yeah. Janice, is that you?
It sure is. It's so good to see you.
Yeah. So how many years? 3, 4 years I didn't see you. I was there in because I did 2 retreat. We had 2 retreat, right?
Right.
And then last year I didn't see you. The year before, I don't remember. Yeah.
I'm benefiting from the first 2. Thank you.
Good. All right.
Can you guys hear me? Hello? Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna start.
This Zoom platform is really nice, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a handy. Very good.
I like being able to see everyone.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're starting on page number 10. And we'll say it in Tibetan 2 times and in English 1 time. 안녕 네월 저지 심진
탐지 대와 당
디비 주당 덴벌
주지 심지 탐지 등어 당 등어 지지 당 자월 주지
심진
탐지 등어 메베 대와 당 만자월 주지 심지 탐지 니랑 차당 니당 자위
안녕 네월 저지 사지 In English, on page number 11, I take refuge in the Guru, I take refuge in the Buddha, I take refuge in the Dharma, I take refuge in the Sangha. From now until my enlightenment, I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. By the merely creating this practice, may I attain the state of Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and causes. May all sentient beings be free from suffering and causes. May all sentient beings never be separated from joyful bliss. May all sentient beings abide in equanimity, feel bias, attachment, and anger. This ground and abundantly fulfilled, strewn with flowers, Mount Meru, encircled by the four continents, surmounted by the sun and the moon. I visualize this Buddha feel and offer it. May all living beings enjoy the pure land.
Tambala,
So,
Gishilan Jigamindo, Gishila Zoom Namindo.
the Zoom the chick myung. That did the pleasure kinzo positive ways. Also, drama doing that.
Now,
Drama saying.
Gishila the Tambo days,
The myung 거다. Zoom the. 콘소 양규권에 리커넥션이나.
Yonjun, Zoom Yonjun Juse.
맨은 득봐 어떤 거 수수 직직 통보도 와
Na,
결혼도 직직 통보도 와
Mazu Chichila Tongado and the Jamestown, Georgetown, Samandu, Victor, Ina Chan Jagamindo.
뜻은 맨동답 내 지금 이거 어떤 말이 그다음에
The Kazangama Taranachina?
이 누구면도 is the
Mazu Toma Yajula Dani and Anjuna, because that any chance in Madrid. Yamna Kishila Zoom party Kachimena.
말은
I think Kishila Zoom. Sorry, we're working on that.
야 당시 다리 돈지
Well, check us out, magic in bed.
다 코치 저거도 저도 소나가 치도 저도 맞더라 맞더라
Okay, so Geshe-la suggested we recite in the Aryatara's mantra and practice our meditation, and then meanwhile let's fix the technical problems.
그럼 저기 좀 마사시라 좀 마라모 좀 마라 상상로 상상로 마더리 Tadarai donam derma soai gijanaram dari de so dare de dare de re so ha dare de dare de re so ha dare de dare de re so 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 dare de dare de re so
必须得更多。
做到么？真的，我是
为可能呢，为能的是写过那样的吧，你这个那个送到了。
呀，这那开始看到打过没法，单着。呀，打工的卡上아주 논로디는 아주 근데 장고에 무인로 소때 나라도 적당 안에 아주 참말로 무일 사위 무일 줄 사위 무일다 다 삼로 야침 보통은 로아다 섬치 담직도 상기게 세야지 다때 마종만 아주 삼로 총총 당게 아주 내 그런 거 대화 안에 신대의 대화동 70명 정도 나서 같은 게 삼로 주당는 아주 적고 그래서 제 당근데 초까지 하고 야에다 때 참에 안에 지금 때스 시에 소소 영정도 암조 연구 때도나 삼로 땅에 또 소소 섬나 샤르송나 다 영정 때 곰디지 그때 아주 무기래지 또 마토나 안에 개땅지 비지 시알이 지년이 그나 이쪽 참아 소라메 와도 지니 되잖아 그 라렌도 지금 마토다 전주시면나 한신 높아 잠기는 나빠탈라 판지람들이 내 데라 판게 패기 라드네 나 펜토요 말거다 바윤점을 하고 얼마도 소소랑 일랑 만 나올래 마도나 나발면 나도 때 차고다 나가도 년주도 삼주도 곰지 나는 영화기 때문에 이래 왔어요.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Better?
Yes.
Sorry about that. Well, just as a reminder, as usual, and we need to adjust our motivation and for the purpose of make sure we have the clear understanding of the purpose and why we are here, what we try to achieve. And as always, so we do have sort of two goals throughout our life, entire life. That is, we got our primary goal or ultimate goal, and we got our temporary goal, the goal of life. So as far as our ultimate goal of life is concerned, we know that from spiritual and Buddhist practice point of view, we want to attain the enlightenment, and that's our ultimate goal. And so that's for that reason, and we are here. At the same time, also we know that we got our temporary goal, or relatively a short-term goal. And the short-term goal is, of course, we want to address and taking care of the causes, the problems of our life, and the causes of life, the problems of life, and in this present life. And also, we want to ensure that we will get the best rebirth and the life in the life after. So having these two goals in our mind, and so my suggestion, as always, that we do have to contemplating or thinking, or in other words, reflecting upon the teachings, advices, and the ideas we have learned, we sort of understood, and we believe that it makes sense.
as convincing and logically and very sound. And we are so sure about the reasons and the validity of that idea or that advice. So having that sense of I know something that's critical, that's important, and then we must not leave that alone or left it out just as intellectual concepts or knowledge or some kind of information, ideas, but rather we have to let that conviction, let that sense of the soundness, reasoning, and appear in our mind over and over. And here in Tibetan is Shara. Shara is arise. That's a sense of understanding that the idea and arise again and again, and so get familiar with it and to reinforce the forces of that concept until and we can bring it into our the meditative stability and bring it into integrate into our both the stability meditation and analytical meditation. And then you really will see the benefits itself. Otherwise, we heard a lot, and so we sort of play a little bit here, there, but in general, and if we're not consciously work on that, then we probably most likely and we would not have that sense of inspiration. Right? We will not feel that every day and in our throughout our days. Throughout the day in our life. So therefore, just like the Shantideva exalted the Master Shantideva said in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, and just by reading and study the prescription, and would that taking care of your illness? Right? So of course they will not, and so therefore the teachings and the ideas, the concepts we have learned is like the prescription, and we have it in our hand. Now our job is to purchase the medicine and then take the medicine accordingly. Then we will see the benefits. So this is my hope, and then I like to remind you again.
Oda yasi chimbu shawala ga dapi liki kushini dala noshi nam chongpe e semchin nyindon na daki teta malak kam ne oda tani to tati otela Chapter Tata Rancha Takwa Chembo Chiki Goshiki Capson, the Taki Go Natsone, Noba Tamashipa Takwa Chembo Chiki, Warchishipi Hongi, Chirkwa Dingelton, Shetatan, Ansung to Junction, Bapang Andrew Dingel Tamino Tikirwa, Yanji Yit Samshang, Jayam, Noshin the Taki, Machiwa Chunky Macho, Ducky Chuchi Shasi, Takatung Riwamur. Opa Jombayo, Tongli Mandevi, Najun Nazo Tonga Nam Sana, Tonsum Gi Tongchimbo Chiki Kawa Jetong Chalwayang, Tanki Machupa Shepi, Deta Tamchitin, Jinan, Lancho Kurur, Tari Kela, Wong, Dog, Dola, E. Cotton Chi Yamte, Samte, Muiki Korni, Muiki Korni, Tongan, Niki Goni. Now let's
go to the translation page 56 and let read one verse and then paragraph, then two paragraphs. Then I explain it to you what it means. Okay. Here, and a quote from Shantideva's Bodhisattva's guidance and way of life. It says here, having been provoked by my actions, harm befalls me. If by their involvement sentient beings are thrown into hell, am I not destroying them? Now, especially when we are entering the door of the great vehicle teachings, these beings harm us in many ways because they thereby create obstacles for themselves to enter the great vehicle doctrine. They will experience the sufferings of cyclic existence in general and the three bad rebirths in particular. We should feel compassion for their becoming vessels of the manifold sufferings of the bad rebirths. Moreover, those who are harming us have in fact been our mothers countless times before. We have eaten their flesh, drunk their blood, gnawed their bones, and worn their skins times beyond number. If all the milk and the curd we have drunk were gathered together, a vessel the size of the three worlds would not contain it. The times we have killed, beaten, and robbed them also cannot be counted. We have taken their kindness for granted. On all those occasions, and now should repair our debt to them, thinking, remembering your kindness, this is my duty. Singling out those we apprehended as enemies, we should enhance love and compassion by means of both giving happiness and taking on suffering.
이 조 조잔도 가르치고나 가서 다지게나 가지고 세당 잡고 지고나 될때는 조바고 치고라 다때 조바고 가르치고나 더필리키 크시디 달라노 바시바 세종되지 니 레가치 당지 만드가지니 파쇼텔라 기부미아즈네 컨트롤 잘해스 컨트롤 아이다 그냥 그런 거 컨트롤 세당 그런 거 그런 거 리잉 바사지니 그런 페당 가서 일와라서 동 스파지레스 तेना तेरे को करते को निलवाला हो सोना दक पे काम शिव शिव चित हमारे से दक ते तो मालक सब को पे पोला तांजन मारे ने तो मोनी जना को फाज कंट्रोल ऑन द ता गोंदा शिवा सेम तानी जो शिवा दो तेरे ची सम गो रे कंगे जना सोसो को लेकी कुलवी ने सोसो ता 이 속ते ने लेकी कुनी फाशो तेले शेदंग की ता ने गाजो तीगला शेदंग चिने ता पे चागो छि बोरवा 라진가 냠팅 나송다 도저그래 티 마임바타 파쇼팅 나송케 소수 조바케데 아카카 땅이 콜로 조금 지트와데나 코 말라티니 콘투트디 켄자 코 링암바사가레 링암바스바텔라티니 나송다 도그래 티자 코 나송다 도나 페사송 코 가르드니 요 토마미베는 알라 카틴 쳔보레 로스임체티니 마케니 로치오르니 로스임지미치니 샤타 타가 통화 또 안에 지 파파 좀발라 소파 안에 다다 너조 통화로 소파 데지 나다 balloon the mambo pe cotton chimbo your cotton to me cotton to pa silk matuna kotala nobakya so nobakya ninga so andu nis tang so this sambaina okatina so so no tree bazil ngi den jong to go tida mulki karne tonglen ni kibune number shot sada ti sada ti ga tonglen se de so so go chitang namje tele dochi jamba ngazu dichashine kondulong go ngazu pa tela kondulong ni chongura 어때 파 렌도노 피 마이체 따뜻 맞춰 소수기기 내가 파 땅지 파쇼고 기기 등은 소수 땅들 랑지 따뜻 제마 송선 데디 냠는지 토와이나 샴당 형지 곰바이나 시가가 무슬 첨보 고니 아니 샴당 형지 곰지 가때 데디기 지 파쇼고니 리차 징게지 데디 용소나 컨트롤 용고나 컨트롤 용고 미테다 단 존지 질문하신 거랑 알아. 적당 알아서 육바시잖아. 아주 나거로. 나당나 아주 남서 컨트롤한 것도 기분이 서로 등에 되게 장 남성 세당 기용 거라. 어때지 티가던데 남성 삼로지 땅네 어때 육바티 마식 송아드네. 내가 아주 육바티 컨트롤한 것도 남성 파션 육바 신경대 컨트롤한 거. 어때 저다 저기 육바 신경대 컨트롤한 거는 저는 육바 신경대라 가리 육바대 가요 말에 육바 신경대 락파가 니와티 사 꿀이용 말에 대장아 파쇼텔라 컨트롤한 거 육바랑아 컨트롤한 거 렌트 자와나 어때 되나 파쇼 강성텔라 가요 말에 강성티 되나 컨트롤 요래 컨트롤가 아니 꿀이용네 아니 그 랑메 받지 컬라 시바레 컨트롤 가르즈는 코너 지당지 말이 배운 거 아니 아주 레사피 말이 배운 게 뜻이지 대자당 알아도 뭐네 정나 바 단도 카트 잡았을 때 말이 빠레 랑당 젠기 말이 빠레 때 바하고는 장지다 코너 말이 배운 손 말이 배운 게 셔던 거 손 셔던 온 것들이 그 꿀지네 되는 tel지네 말도 파워 바르 되는 나를 나야 람부 요 랭이 요를 가서 레링 요를 알라 공부도 종알 공부들 때 코니 그때 근데 젠지 레이처럼 거 꿀이 용어를 경험한 좀 되게 싸가지고 이제 되게 싸움 당하이나 남성 파쇼들라 양지기 그래서 양지 딱 거기는 기나도 그 미치 셔던 컨트롤랑이 당도 아주 돈은 아주 가 파성 남성 맞기로 온 것도 맞겨오나 이 같은 양지금부터는 양맞지 딱 코미들 라가면 차송 파쇼디 셔던 거 장한 계속 섬당 토에나 시가가 판토 용거를 때 짜당 알아도 남진 알아도 진들이 셔던 차도 노착가 요구만 로지니 샴당 형지가 요구지다 같은 캡슐 요래 스타트시고
So the essence of this the reading we just did essentially is teach us how to practice patience or forbearance, how to tolerate, and especially to the one who we consider as our enemy. We know that among all the afflictive emotions, the most harmful, the destructive emotion is the anger. So when the person experiences the hatred, become angry, and then they themselves is experiencing the pain, and the action will further be very harmful. So therefore, in our day-to-day life, how we can the lessons we can learn from this reading and then practice it is that when you consciously or unconsciously, and basically is because of something happened, and you made the individual you have formed any relation or had to do something with, who become angry, and so at that point, as soon as you realize the person become angry, you must try to remember, oh, now I am doing something awful and very harmful. This person is angry, and he or she is accumulating terrible karma, negative karma, and this terrible negative karma may let him or her down, get the rebirth in the hell. So I must not doing this thing. So at that point, you must stop in the right and try your best to not let that individual experience reduce his or her anger, and then let him or her be free from the hate or the anger. Because this is if you not do that, and right, then you are is basically is doing created a very negative, helping him or her, and creating a very negative karma. Of course, that's not 100% your own fault, but it is a collective is a result of both you and that individual. So therefore, at your end, you must immediately take action and to apologize and whatever is suitable, and try to comfort him and to ensure that person can free from his agitation or the frustrations, and stop him being angry. And at the same time, and you also needed to think that, oh yes, and yeah, just basically remember a simple truth that if you make anybody angry, and you must try not do it, because if you did, that means you are destroying that person, destroy his or her fortune, and helping him or her create the most harmful, awful, negative rebirth and experiences, not only here in this lifetime, but especially life after. So keep this in mind, and say that I have no reason and I cannot bring any harm to that person or to him or her. The reason is yes, and in fact, you can put it in a very simple way. As soon as you realize you did it, either it's because of the mistaken or consciously or unconsciously, you did it. But try to recall and remember and what you've done, the nature of your action, and how you affected the person now is how negative it is. Then you must deeply, sincerely sort of express the in Tibetan say akaka is like Allah, so oh my gosh, and then immediately reflecting and recognize that you've done something terrible, and then stop it, and then at the same time encourage yourself to reflect upon the advices or teachings, concepts that we have learned before. Like it says, anyone in whom we met from beginning lifetime, the beginningless lifetime has been our mother, and so we dropped their milk, and we actually all a great deal of the kindness to him or her, and while they were being our mother in the previous lifetime here, and so reflect on those reasons, right? And then say, oh, since I owe them, so therefore I have no slight reason to against or make them unhappy, but I have all reasons to make them feel comfort and secure and feel happy and easy. So if I do not do this, and then I would not doing my duty or my morally and moral duty, meaning that the things I ought to do, I owe it. The debt I ought to pay back, I'm not paying. So and to think of this, and then immediately and yes, reflect on the outcomes, and so then to try your best to free that person from the anger. And at the same time, you must also deepening your compassion, love to that person. And here in this text, particularly says that you must adopt the means of taking and giving. And taking is taking other people's discomfort, frustrations, and unhappiness and anger. So you must take it, and then at the same time give to that person the love and the care and the kindness, and be soft and gentle to him or her. And so that's in Tibetan called Donglan, right? And that taking and giving. on the giving taking and giving. So that's the practice we needed to do. And in general, again, so we are doing opposite, right? In our experiences that when anything happens, instead of taking other people's suffering consciously, deliberately, purposefully, we are actually, bring the sufferings and cause others distressed, be very stressful. We cause them instead of reducing their stress or suffering. We actually bring the sufferings and stress to that person. And we are doing opposite, right? And that's our general sort of practice or the habitual action. But here, this teaching requires us, right? We needed to switch off, right? And to sort of turn around, and instead of cause others more stress, become stressful and angry or unhappy, we must take their sufferings, their stress, and up onto us, but then give them our love, our compassion and kindness and generosity and so on and so forth to help out those beings and relieve them free from the suffering. So the simple matter, the simple truth, and also can be, we do need to do this because there's a simple truth and we can rely on. The simple truth is this. At one point, we discussed this in the previous class. That is an analogy by Shantideva. And so Shantideva's text says that if somebody hits you with a stick, right, with a stick, and you're not going to, a reasonable person, if you think, is that, oh, it's not the person, it's a stick. You should angry about the stick. Why? Because it's a stick who caused you feel pain, right? But not a person. And then you say, no, that is that the person's hands, and it's not a person's hands. But again, it's not a person. If it's that person, right? If I say it has to be that person, then you must go one more step. Say it's not that person. It's not that person's anger, right? And his or her frustration. He's angry. And so then you need to reach the last stop. Last stop is that it's not a person's anger, it's that person's ignorance, right? Or his or her ignorance with respect to and his or her identity or the ultimate reality of the nature of phenomena. So see, all the way you go down, right, from a stick, right, to the hands and to the person and the person's mentality such as anger, and then all the way track down to the person's ignorance. Then we have the reason, right, to be kind to that person. Why? Because that person acting that way who hit you with a stick is he himself or herself actually was the victim. Right? He or she, he actually suffered because of the ignorance, because of misperception of the self, right? So therefore, we have the reason to forgive him or her, and but instead we must to show, and we have the reason to show our compassion to them. So this means that we have to recognize that the enemy and what is really enemy or what isn't, right? We know that just like a stick is not our enemy, right? Is not the one who bit up, so all the way it is ignorance. And then so that person is we have all reason to forgive that person. At the same time, we also cannot forget that we have, we got a reason to blame on ourselves too. The way we can blame ourselves is that, so we have this the physical body, which is constituted by the 5 aggregates, right? So we carry this and we present ourselves in such a way, right? And is in such a physical form, and then we we come to be like today, like here, we are who we are, how we present ourselves is due to our negative karma, right? Due to our contaminated actions. Because of the contaminated actions, we are here subject to all kinds of sufferings, right? So the reason we got beaten up, also partially we did something, right? We contributed. We contribute this. We create this scenario, that kind of situation, and so therefore the person able to do that. And so then we have both reasons that we are both are victims, right? And since we both are equally a victim and victimized, and because due to our ignorance, our negative karma, so therefore we have to have the compassion and for ourselves and particularly for others. So then yeah, that probably is. I had a note here that said something about it. 이제 되게 요거지 소화다 요거들 간에 원이 되는데.
그래서 직당하고 셔동다 차동다 되게 노착도 요거지에나 이동 남바담 좀 등을 해. 샤만 그냥 저기 요거지다 줄라 계속 셔다 그래서 뜻을.
Yeah. Yeah, I just took it one keywords and notes and I can't remember the rest of it. Okay. So the keyword is servant, okay, or slavery. Servant here is that we must know that we have to make sure that we are not being turn ourselves like the servant of our 5 or 6 defilements, root defilements, right? The servant of anger, servant of attachment, the servant of the doubt, and servant of the ignorance, and the servant of the jealousy, right? And yeah, so so those are the afflictive emotions within us, and we have to be conscious aware that if we not pay clear attention, right, to make sure we not turn ourselves into those 5 or 6 afflictive emotions, our power on us, right, control us, then we will definitely will serve them as their servant. And but the teaching advise us, right, we must turn ourselves into the compassion, loving kindness, and the wisdom, and be the master of those the enlightened qualities, but not become the slavery or the servant of the 5 or 6 afflictive emotions.
다 캬프르트 노바셰팔라 때니 zopi jishepi paru dushimba kirkyang tela teni jongte noshite zopi yili yimbi zopa goms. Zopa yona paru dushimba ni tengon tu songla tesamla teni jongwiso donte korki korda yete ta sangi lati te tenki yimbi so tertri yang kachiwa tertri yang chakawa chimbi sheni dam onton zayangrong nyomo kiwi yilnamla singi yimber sitwa ti mate kangna nechang dezi siswa tarte hoina khansok ki domba popa tharwa tang thamchi khembi yesongni katin chiwa tar tela teni chang zopa ti sangchu chembo yekirwi khatu chungwa chil Martiver Sawater Yinte, strangely Ottawa lost.
Again, we're still on the page 56. We should particularly rely on those who harm us, since they provide the basis for us to practice patience. Even the 6 perfections arise from relying on them. Because these foes are an object of forbearance, we can meditate on patience. If we have patience, the two perfections of generosity and ethics will have preceded it, and the other three, effort, meditative stability, and discriminating intelligence, will be derived from relying on it. When we let our thoughts turn over the significance of this, we will release that objectively it is our foes who place enlightenment in the palm of our hands. The great Chagawa expressed it like this: whether they are our enemies or dear ones, all are the objects of disturbing emotions. Seeing everyone as a spiritual friend will bring happiness even when you are alone. We should practice just as he has
It's 11
advised.
o'clock.
For instance, the spiritual preceptor is extremely kind because he bestowed the vows that are the cause for us to attain liberation and omniscience. Our enemies too is like that, because by relying on him, we can perfect the patience, which is the cause of great enlightenment. This is like saying, don't spit out delicious food once it is in your mouth.
어떤 데 가르쳐 보지나 직당 말하고 기우섬 기람기를 봤어. 기우섬 기우 총고세等 친디 대화 좀 더 얘기 좀 해. 다 기우 정세 기우 심마 네바 다루이 공방을 찍고 다루이 공방 데리 공방 얘기지라 용거. 땅 아주 기우 첨부에서 그러. 와 첨부 기우 첨부세 때 가르치나 섬지 탐지기도 농업을 좀 상기기 저번이 땅 때문에 농업을 좀 상기기 그러. 땅 농업을 좀 상기를 셰발라 바로 드신 바트랑 해버 라보 바로 드신 바트랑 라발라 조바 치점 짐바 치점 조바 섬도 뜨기 라보고자 어떤 다다디 컨트롤 랭킹 게 노시티 그런 거 조바 검사게 때리다 그 결혼 매트 몽을 조금씩 해서 그랬잖아 셰피 바로 드신 바트랑 때라 때니 정도 바로 드신 바트도 섬진 잔발라 때니 정도 바로 드신 바는 조바 검사 때라 젠 칸 일 컨트롤 랭킹 때라 때니 정도를 Jimba Donsa de Opongo Kui in Yamtang Tedeta and the Poma Zola Teni Zoba Zobi Paro, the Jimmy Paro Sintore, Chitum Sosa de Pachotella and around the chip. So the Yasum so just on the Joes on Sati Pacho Yichi Latin Zongota, that's some Semjil Latin Jongors. Yes, Sangil Latin Joma, Semjil Latin Jisaga, Shawat Samba Shinish, Todo Zoma Dosate, the Latin Jogoyota. 원도 송을 따뜻해서 바로 드신 받은 것도 원도 door 셰발라 이제 미지 심진라 땡고고요래 됐더니 종에 돈도 고라자니 망보시나 마시나 아니 가로서 성기치 고퍼도 그 땡킹은 로아트 차다 버다 저 컨트롤한 것도 저 같은 쳔부 차다 그래 가서는 저런 조바 검사게 땡 차가래 조베 검 그때다 땡 조금지나 그때다 땡이 dio 조베 바로 드신 받 톱고래 근데 저 상투 셈비에 남 바로 드시면 냠는 탈심을 셰발로 조바 검사기 보고요래 진짜다 아니 나 작가위 가서나 담 온테 자양으로 라오티나 소소라 라오세든 아주 같이나 노파창기데나 아주 다시고라 자오세든 아주 같이 팬토고든 아주 자시고라 이는 자든 다니가라 세바토뇽타고레 달라테니 셰당키고르 테카토고레 달라테니 착파키고르 테카토고레 Then you got a Nomotivi Yil Namladin. 때 노트장 쉐동 지상 일때 남나니 신인 임버 쓴 통화되네 어때 기후 신년은 저도 정말 알라페 이 람tun직인 거 롭tun직인 인즈네 대삼로 땅니 같이나 같은 친구인 사람들 다 조이나 알라 조바 검사라 소바테 딕인 사람 아니엔지나 다 고담지 리라오지로 냐라 그죠 어때 진짜 뭐텔라 네 मते कंगना ने क्या देवाई मते साजा कांड लंबा क्वाटी देना ने को समा देखी और सिदी और अने सी नोबा यो मारे नंग नोबा यो मार गाजो जो नोबा ते जोसा नंग नोबा लाते ने सी नोबा तो जोंगो रा नंग लाते ने छदंग शेदंग ते ने छलो दाते मांगन चिने दा छर मा तो तंबो नि दा ने फासो ते ना बोजे तंबो किनि जोंदे खुंगी दा ति यो मारदा गारो जो ज तेजा तेले 딱 아주 나라도 진짜 지지 노바통 가보던 혼도 아주 같은 체보인 강의장 아주 때리게 된 정보 선지 컴퓨터 타와던 지침이 럼덤버 셰비 데리팅인 이 가도 같은 체보 쓰기 어려워 뜻지와 나오진 않네 조바고 비길 다도 답지 아주 조비테 셰비 상치 바로 뜻을 특색을 정글센터 어때 같은 체보래 진짜 딱 그런 거 칼라 세션으로 지금 붙여 만들어 되는데 그런 거 배들이 제단 그거다 때라때 아서 소급지 저 텔란서 뽑는 마 매워 맞어 지다 그 조타나 소소 칼라 시심으로나 지금부터 이기다 나가지 돼서 왔다 어떻게 갈리가 호러와 똑같이 뭐 있잖아서 삼로 참아니 탁파 총총 그 삼로 단다 된자 샤이 두개 총총 다 지수 상마 세기메다 나가 로이나 두개 총총 라네 그럼 높다겠지 전다 트레로 치고래 이나 딱 모놈 저 레와지 때나 좀 많이와도 말 용고를 선좀 된데 당봉 아주 나와지래가 지도니 전부터 좀 말이와 이제 몽고 그 간증이 좀나 몽고 야가르 간트다 몽고도 이제 몽고 좀 산죠 대자 용고요 대자 당 아주 된 맞추 지고 그래서 오야 저 다음에 또 어떻게지
Okay. So here's the thing. Essentially, we know that when you try to classify or categorize that the spiritual and the individuals who are seeking for the spirituality, or who are considered the spiritual, very spiritual, and has strong interest in the spirituality and all religious practice. And here, particularly from Buddhist point of view, in the context of Buddhist tradition, we know there is essentially have three different individuals, right? Individuals with a small capacity, individuals with a medium capacity, and individuals with a greater capacity, or the small individual, or the medium individual, and the great individuals. So the teaching here and gives us some kind of the material for us to reflect in, okay, and for us to examine and who we are. Right, where are we? The which particular the individuals we are. So we know that the individuals with a small capacity, by definition, is that he or she they engage in the spiritual practice and they have a strong and interest in religion or spiritual practice, but those individuals' ultimate goal or reason, and they taking a strong interest in religion or spirituality is because they want to use or through by the means of spirituality or religion to address the sufferings and causes of suffering for themselves and for this life alone. Right? So that defines that the individual, he or she, is a small vehicle, a small individual with a small capacity. And then the individuals with a medium capacity is a person, he or she is not entirely attached to the well-being, the happiness, a success of this life and alone for himself or herself alone here on the earthly, only on the earthly interest, but rather is turned sort of his or her back to the earthly and pleasurable thing, and instead shift all his or her attentions, the energy to practice the Buddha Dharma and in order to become arhat, or in order to become to free him or herself from samsara and become liberated, right, in order to reach the liberation. So that's the individual with the medium capacity, so here we, and at least in this particular context, the teachings we showed a great interest. We're taking and we try to understand and practice is the Mahayana teaching. That means that this teaching is for the the individual with greater capacity. So individual with greater capacity means that individual who are not interested for his or her in the earthly life at all, even he or she is not interested to attain liberation for him or her own sake at all, but rather the individual with greater capacity who want to attain the Buddhahood, right, by eliminating the two obstacles or two the obscurations. The obscurations, obscurations of afflictive emotion, and obscurations to the knowledge. The individual who aimed to attain Buddhahood for the benefits of all sentient beings, and so their ultimate goal is to eliminating these two huge obstacles, right, obscurations. How they do it? The means, or the technique they use or they rely on is the great six perfections. Six great perfections, like a great perfection of generosity, moral ethics, and generosity, moral ethics, patience, and joyful perseverance, and meditation, and wisdom. And so, therefore, we are naturally introduced, obligated to practice the six great perfections, to aim to perfect those six spiritual enlightened qualities, and in order to remove the two obscurations from our mental continuum. And so that's our the object of learning, and that is our object. Our task is our objectives. But the way we accomplish this, to achieve this, we need practice it. But in order to practice it, we need a specific context, a specific relation, and a situation, right, and scenario to achieve our goal. At this point, we know that all sentient beings are equally become very, very important. Essentially, we have two kinds of sentient being in our mind, right? Or would appear in our mind, generally speaking. One is the one we feel is our favorite people, that's our beloved ones, our friends, families, and someone we fond of, right? And the others are, and we consider as enemy or consider can be ignored, right? So those two individuals, and the way we see those two individuals at this point, and from a Mahayana practitioner's point of view, or as far as the perfection, the practice of great six perfections are concerned, they are equally important. And first of all, that one and individual or group of individual you consider as can be ignored, or you consider as enemy or as unfavored, but they are the one who would help you to achieve your the great perfection of forbearance or tolerance and or patience. Right? Without them, you cannot achieve that. Right? And then also, those who are needy, the people who are needy and who are poor, and it's very important, because without them, you cannot perfect the great perfection of generosity. Similarly, and so both your beloved ones and your favored or unfavored beloved ones, or the people you hated or you ignore in general, and they are and the base. They serve as the basis for you practice your morality or your the great perfection of moral ethics. And we know that so great perseverance or joyful perseverance is again aimed to and achieve our goal, and certainly require the all sentient beings, and both of the your favored and unfavored. We need to treat them as very important and see them as so valuable, and even to the point that we understand those spiritual qualities and only can be achieved by relying on or through the forming a relationship and or engaging with and then those two types of people, but not the Buddhas or enlightened ones. And so therefore, in a sense that as far as the how to practice generosity, how to practice to achieve the practice of generosity and tolerance, and the moral ethics, and so Buddha and the Bodhisattvas or enlightened ones is not the one for you to. It's not your field of practice, but rather is the sentient being. And so, knowing this, that our practice is a bodhicitta, is the mind of the awakening mind, and so like Chagawa said here, right? So the one who you have affection, right? You have so much affection to it. In fact, not necessarily always doing you a favor, because you have so much affection to them, and then in fact, you are and the very practice which you engage in is attachment. Okay? So there are you consider you're favored, but spiritual speaking, and it's not necessarily, and it is always has a great quality in it. Similarly, and you call other opposite group as enemy and bad guys, but they are the one, and in fact, it's, always give you the reason and to be tolerant, and to be more open-minded, and to be more conscientious about it, right? So therefore, they are the one who give you the really a good opportunity and to enhance your spiritual development. And so that's what Chagawa and the great master Chagawa says. If you have this in your mind, right, treat both of the favored and unfavored people equally important, equally has equal value. Then it doesn't matter where you go and whom you talk to or you deal with, and you will always find yourself is very happy and feel good and feel easy in any kind of situation with anyone. Why? Because now you look at them as the object of your practice. Right? You are enhancing your the spiritual enlightenment. So this way, you will not find that the enemy at all, right? And you will not find enemy internally. You also will not find enemy externally, right? You cannot find enemy externally is because everyone over there is serving you to do you a favor. Right? They are helping you. They are and try to save you. So therefore, see, you have no enemy externally. Internally, you have no enemy and nothing disturbance you is because you look at everyone with kindness, with compassion, with wisdom. So therefore, it's nothing really make you feel harmful. In fact, if you really want to say that there is external and internal harmfulness, harmful qualities, and the argument the Buddhists could make is that if you really there's something that you can say harmful, then compared to external and harmful, the things which you could call the harmful, and the internal and qualities which is cause you, motivate you, and force you to see others harmful, it actually is more harmful. Okay? So internal, the sense of that anger and the sense of attachment and aversion or ignorance, they are the ones who really created the external harmful conditions. Without this internal and harmful environment, you will not experience anything harmful. The external environment is not there. So therefore, you must know who is truly the one who doing the damaging and doing the harmful thing. It's not external, but it's the internal negative qualities you have internal, right? I know at this point, what I'm saying is sounds simple, easy, right? Even fun. But practically it will be very, very hard. Right? Why? Because the discussion, the very teaching we talk about is designed for the individuals of greater capacity. Right? This is saying that this teaching is for the person who is in the college level, right? For the college students. But I'm not saying you, all right, and myself here, I know I am a kindergartner. So, but the teaching and I'm talking about and the practice and I try to accomplish is actually for college level students. You can see the gap, right? And so therefore, it's not as simple. It would not be easy to do. However, we have a Buddha as a great example, right? And so the all things that we can do is need just to give a try and practice. We have a greater examples, not just only Buddha. We know that in Tibet we have a greater master Milarepa and Lama Tsongkhapa and so on and so forth. You name it. So therefore, I think even the gap is between this wonderful teaching and our capacity is kind of vast and great, but we have a hope we definitely can achieve it if we keep practicing. Now, I'd like to take questions. Any questions, please?
Okay, I'll ask one.
Yeah, yes, please.
A few years ago, this is a question about a technique. A few years ago, when I was working, there was somebody I worked with who required an enormous amount of patience because for many reasons. And I felt so bad because I didn't feel good about this person. And it's like, I just felt like I wasn't practicing much patience. and I wasn't being very generous with my actions. And so one of the techniques, and I'm asking Geishla if this is correct, is that I would put this person in front of my mind when I was meditating, and I would just kind of pray for their happiness. And I felt like over time that kind of helped me to be kinder, and I was able to approach them in a nicer way. I'm just basically asking, like, when you're with somebody, it's not that you have anger towards them, but and I guess my other question is, that's some sort of like collective karma, like you have this sort of karma with this person or people in your environment, and you feel bad because you don't feel like you're being very generous in your actions.
Nghe cái đứa suy chứ nhầm lên cái đã mà ngọc là thắp lên là điều gì đó vậy thì tí là dập chung cái đông chỉ suy bây nó ni lúc khai sĩ cũng là nghe lẽ cái chỉ sao này thì mình chỉ thì mình cái chuyện là ta chỉ nhớ là sau đó ngắn là cha sinh là thì rồi bao là phải mà suy cái này khóc thì ni rồi bao có mà thì ni ngã còn lại là một là thì là rồi bao mấy đề bát thì chỉ nhìn sao rồi bao có mà thôi thì anh có rồi bao số rồi bao mà có mà thì là số thì sao bắt chụp mình đó sang nghe thì chỉ mà số sẽ cái số nông ra mà chỉ anh rằng cái mà chụp thì 이나요 밑에 그디 담아 조금 제가 갈리 가고 싶기도 땅에 다들 제가 간데 쉬어야 돼 아니요 이 강에 대세하게 타던데 패시전하게 몸적이 있어요 삼배나라 뭐 덴지 거이나 뭐이나 덴지 했더니 딱 코로나지 대화 조나 세하게 코로나니 대화티 코로나 대기 온다고 해서 그때 코로나 대화티 조한테 코로나 대화기 챘대 이미 챘대 몰름 제야서 그러면 나 덴지 곰 대비나 근데 간도사를 삼아요 다들 대화 간데들이 any niwa de da ngaju retanga didishila chudeba ti ne chudishila chubadi dingara chiwanga ma later ki sayo chiwas ani didishike samlo tanani dekari na nas
그래, 그때 개똥 지나가서 그럼 삼로 땅에 아통들하면도 셰르 배주 땅 들어가나 빼요고요래. 아까 그런 뭐 기와치니 마롱와치니 지요나 개똥 가서 때 삼로 요거든 코 따기 셔나지 냥지 다코 까티랑 알아지 마가지 근데 마가테 김친 가르레 김친 파 딱시로 땅에 근데 김친도 지지나 알아 소소 균단 통말 소소랑 라신지 진데 소송이니 콜라 지금 만디가 마가는 가르치 당나 티 팔아서 지지나 알아 소송이니 콜라 까티나 마가비 강지 제정의 때리 용고 지지나 코랑 타도 용고 맞아 전 수수파워도 맡기려는 거 근데 다전 타도 콜 타도 온 것들이 지기요는 냐지 다 코랑 까티네 기부요 말 진짜다 코랑 따기 셔나죠 ni kola bonda karjina ngala teni ko ani makilo zoni ni chindela kibume chishmana ngandu na stanga ta rema swa samutu samgonza da ani kitang ngaro kitang yit mo yit zo tharang zina yayo ta yintani rang zini e so zopa no tidig niwaro chire sonada ngadu taniri sonara ngadu tela kni 탑도 특고로 다당 아주 탑 맞춤니 같을때 뇨모텔라 아니 탑 맞춤이 같을때 뇨모텔라 트레나상 지를 뇨모텔당 타랑 주제니 때 도착지 옛날에 시당지 옛날에 뜻당 파 주니 타랑 좀 통화지 설명하래 양들 삼로 때 코르치 콩도랑의 양들 삼도는 콩도랑 거라 삼로 마타야 버다 때라 때니 삼로 땅에 셰르페 줬당 터나오 때 되지지 손때 가르치고 임증 가르 고 차도고 있어. 차도고 인바나다 양마지 고 차도기니 임증 알아 그 소바지 통니 코테지 차도기고. 이따고 양마지 되게지니 콜라레마 송아사메 되게 소소 조신지야다. 되게지 토나 요고요마도다 랑아티기 지가 데 삼로 미트 셈나랑 삼로 땅이 다나 미트 삼로 땅이 땅게 지땅 리땅 로땅 아주 셈나 넌 노니는 샤랑은 딜리 소소 마킬러지 야 소소 지보이나 코로나 걸때 맞지지네 셈나가 이 조금지네 때 냠는 내 탁거나 냠는 지네 때라 파판 도치 냠는 지 탁고메나 파스나 제바지네 야스 뇨모텔라 카프기 짜트나 카프기 짜고레 카프기 짜마토에나 델리 트레나 약르서고레 Te kyorang ge chan ro ga to le te le nyam nan te gyur ma ko. Ni de ji gor zi shet ko ma.
Yeah. Well, I can only give you some general ideas, but I think there's one thing that we can always consider is that among all the techniques, which one is the most effective, right? We have to consider the most direct and most effective technique. That technique you could consider as we call the vipassana or special insight, right? Or the wisdom, the wisdom that realize or perceive the actuality, the ultimate nature of reality. So meditate on that, right? Use that as a technique. Meditate on that or perfect that, and to me is more direct. And so sort of it's taking care of the root cause of the problem, right? And so ultimately that is the most effective and most practical technique. But then of course at the same time, and we can also adopt some kind of very conventional technique. The conventional technique is kind of common sense, but people often forgot it. That is, when you think of that person, you feel not happy about it, or when you had any kind of unpleasant experience with that person, either he or she is there or not, when you think of it. So you must sort of first point out the finger to yourself. Ask, say, did I? Right? Or am I create something, and right, creating something or have created something and made that person and turn in such a way against me, and I see me as not something that someone is rejectable thereupon, and therefore I make me feel unhappy about it, right? It's hard, I know. Is that people often they will point their finger to others and not to themselves. But as a practitioner here, and we need to honestly and sincerely ask ourselves whether we did something or not, right? If we did not, then of course we did not. And then we must examine why the person then not happy with us, right? And one of the critical reason, important reason, I would guess maybe is jealousy. If that person is jealousy about your success, your position, or anything, right? You can name it. And then you must know that that person is suffered tremendously, right? Always. And so now you have the reason to show your compassion to that person because he didn't do anything. That person, because of his ignorance, now is just unhappy constantly because of see you, right? Upon see you and talking about you and unhappy. So you are in fact is unconsciously and creating something, right? Made the person could, in a worst case scenario, turn him or her to receive the bad rebirth, right? Ultimately speaking, or in the long run. So therefore, you out of compassion and kindness, and you must try to save protect her or him, and then not continue created that negative karma. And then another, yes, the way to do this, right? The way to help that person, okay, it's again conventional and it's kind of commonsensical. That is, if you feel you have the strength, right? You have the achieved the qualities of what we call the great perfection of tolerance or patience, and then go approach and right by the skillful means to change that person's attitude and let him or her free him or her from the misunderstanding or the self-creating sort of a fear, right? By being yourself there and through the communications or and acting, show the example, whatever. So be with him or her or them and try to address the problem. However, here's the thing: if you feel you have to achieve that high level, right, great level of to directly to approach that person to fix that problem, and then the commonsensical or the conventional method is run away. Run away. Don't do and go and do, have any relation, any interaction with that person, or them, him or her, or in general. Just step away, right? Or try to reduce the volumes of engagement, right? Because again, out of compassion, you know that your lack of the strength of the tolerance, right? The patient, if your presence will continue making him or her agitated in return, and you were not happy, then why? Then so the only way is to try to avoid it and to get rid of him or avoid him or her. But getting rid of him doesn't mean to ignore and out of aversion, but rather as a skillful means, right? Once meanwhile, of course, you will continue to develop your tolerance. You will try to perfect the great perfection of the tolerance, right? Once you achieved a strong, adequate strength, then you can return. You can go back to approach that person. Because at that point, you are strong, and he or she will not easily defeat you. And so this, I guess, is the good reason. Good way to do. The reason I'm not that much sort of in favor, you say yes, pray for him or her and meditate on something that's on behalf of him or her, and think of him or her positively, which is a good way, but maybe not always helpful if you not apply the wisdom, right? The wisdom into that, to integrate the wisdom into that very practice. When meditation, why? Because now here you sit and you visualize, you think of that person, right? You wish him or her well, and without the wisdom, what happens is while you were thinking of him or her, maybe other thoughts occur as a bad and negative experience, memory, right? Then in that memory is so powerful and it could completely destroy you and being big nice kind in the meditation. Right now, instead of a prayer for him or her, you become angry. You feel right and agitated. So therefore, and always try to rely on the wisdom, right? And be skillful, and then that would taking care of the both trouble now and later. Let me see. Yes, so that the practice is the simplest practice is that to always be mindful and conscientious and thinking deeply and try to try to facing the problem itself with the wisdom, with the technique, and with the compassion, kindness. But again, as I said, if you feel you haven't reached that goal, that higher level of strength or power, and run away, right? Run away. And of course, I cannot judge you which level you are. You are the only one know how which level of the strength that you are. So go from there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Yeah. Sorry. Oh yeah. Let me check the chat. All right. Did it do? A question from Facebook, okay. Can meditation be a kind of a pointless escape without working on behalf of other sentient beings? Is selfless moral action for the benefits of others superior to meditation practice? Okay. All right, that's from Jonathan. That Jyoti didn't 거기에 맞죠? 곰자스 다치 코치단스 그래요. 곰자야티 아니 to 米了没事，对我们那是啦，但另外一是呢，对我们那这个年龄呢，啦是，但可能那现在把这米了没事修剪，就从那了做修剪呢，你那个哪怕长的的，嘛这不今年我们家的就对面上我就那个说就，人看那蛮多呢，人可能个领悟的呢有特性，看也啥些，看也特性今年把那个的嘛这个他们起来。Chaya que come and do it, Gomja di Lolan with my church in the Gomja de Vinas. You are Tombo today. Niwa de itself, less more actually for the benefit of and then Dagmegi, that Sitting Yamland is that Dagmegi Sitting in Yamland, so. Gom jamba tsangma la tena se ani ya yakshu de la tina de gru e de ni jin se
ale reta kitang ane da gom ngoni chi jawe na samla soso samla sidi yong sidi chini shangchu sam nyangji la so gom ge na soso nyangji ki niwa ta ya phe na jala ru chi ola chi chona sona soso kang niwa tang da bi go ni chi thuk kare se 다 곰자고 지니 섬나 전지 장면이랑 종종지 되나 다 뒤서 돌아가 또 요마 그러니까 다 리드 배치 땅에 마치 손나 펜토이나 대패 펜토 요르지라 섬나 당부 곰점니 섬나 곰점니 샘들 니와치 보셔서나 리드 강화 손에 그런 강화 손나 아니 강을 책이 말은 요다다 종나라 때 조금지야 당 때라 아니 셰르고 배치 땅 균땅 세트 비워 디 니와로트 용알라 당부 샘나 삼나 젠라 로지야 땅 아니 지소나라 같이 시디망 앞진도 볼 Tensa di niwa tini kompetang chetom jaki or mato. Ane nga taga tiso mandro tiso chola tang ni de na ta tiso chola. Tani ni kuta lo ni tana di yaji samudu si. Ranga ti samu chana de ne ni kuta chiboro wa. Ti ngoma nga zu te gelo yansing tanda ngoma kamu la re. Gom jagi shiu si siya marta gom jagi samu chika mewa gom kada jagi du gom jagi samu chika mata de solo 지대 기부들 때 나 친구만데 때리세요. 미치 곧 라운드가. 그 때리지나 때리는 삼노지하면 다 대대 때는 다 그런 거 지순이가 답지 너 지수 자가 님하게 지순이 답지 님만 자가 범죄 돌아지. 때까지 미 망쳐 범죄 걸어서 때 그러지. 니 그도 저 참아니 그거를 참아니 그렇죠 참아가 공하고 그것도 잡지는 자 삼노지가 메어지는 또 이제 대대로 때 지금 말했어. 근데 말해서 곰세도 인치미 무일도 지니 예때라 때 대파 니와치니 득자 샘드가 스마마 메아주 샘 야디야 컴퓨터 디속텔라 람더시니 지네 종토와이나 펜투요르스 지네 아니 다나코즈나 다음에 또 시스템 세트 미시다 모체 마소다 아니 직통지나 아주 시스템들라 코스모비 제타바 시치고 제 코스모비 제타바 송간 내가 간다 거잖아 때 니와체르 그러나 아무도 남지 시스템 송아도 시스템 코랑들 랑진기 시스템 송어일 시스템 송아오 시스템 송아 때 차동안에 랑진기 드바치 요말 때니 종아 잠시래 지니 때차다 때니 종아 잠시 차동 때트 몰로비간이 차동 요데오레 파 탁도 잔이 소나 간 얘기 메바레 때지 삼당이나 어떤 코스모무 비지타바 세르시다 쿠티 시기 메토스 무테나 녀와 간다 가잖아 니와 체 용고를 또 시고르시
Okay. To answer your first question, Jonathan, and here, first of all, and we have to know that the meditation and on loving kindness, compassion, right, is not just to withdrawn or for the sake of sort of sit there and think of, right? In fact, in the form of meditation and in this particular context, right, like loving kindness, compassion is a preparatory. It's like a preparational, right? So you are. And even you're not physically engaging formally in the society with other people, right? And being active socially, but your very meditation, that's your meditation on the compassion, loving kindness, and wisdom, in fact, is deeply engaging, is directly involved. At least, you are preparing yourself, because the purpose of Buddhist meditation is to prepare yourself. It's like you charge, right? The very purpose of charge is to use it, right? And so you are charging, and in order to use it. So therefore, it's not avoiding, it's not try to hiding or just try to escape or try to ignore, but rather you are meditating because you recognize, you acknowledge, and you know that there's a problem and you need to fix it, right? But the way to fix it is because you need a power, right? You need a skillful means, you need a strength, you need a special intelligence. So where does intelligence come from, and special and the powers come from? It's the technique here is the meditation. The meditation, again, I have to say, and you must remember in the Buddhism, meditation doesn't mean you just shut down your thoughts and sit there. No, that's not a meditation. Okay? If you sit there quietly and everything is in place, looks great, but mentally, internally, if you're not reflecting anything, okay, connect to any particular spiritual quality, the enlightened quality such as loving kindness, compassion, wisdom, then you are not meditating. Even for others, meditating, even for you is quiet, calm, you're at ease, right, and peaceful, and everything looks fine. But which is not the type of meditation we are encouraging, or we are try to achieve. Because in the meditation is that we knew, right? We meditate because we know our problem, we know our shortness, right? We know where we fell short, and we know we are powerless, right? And our limits, and so like we're not kind enough, we're not gentle enough, we're not skillful means enough, we're not sharp, right? And kind of spontaneously, and very skillfully responded to the complicated situation. So therefore, and we bring ourselves into meditation and to meditate on the loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom. And so after a rise from the meditation, then we are fully charged, right? And we are prepared. So now we go back to that situation, that scenario, and we know we have the adequate mental strength, and we can manifest the love and the compassion, wisdom that we practiced, right? We meditated upon, so we can manifest it. We can we can use it. We can apply, and whatever we have been working on while during our meditation in the right on the spot, right, and in the actual situation. So meditation is not equal to thoughtless, calm, and like a sleep. No, our meditation must not like a sleep, meaning that so you just feels that you're not engaged in anything calm and good. No, if that's the thing, and then like one of my favorite the great teacher in the from Drepung Kwa-Meng Monastery. And he had this experience with someone, and who said, who explained the meditation is that, I'm meditating because, and I am doing meditation so well. My meditation very well, and because I'm not thinking anything, it's calm, it's peaceful, and I just enjoy it, right? And then my teacher, and he's actually the abbot, and back then is Kwa-Meng Monastery. He said, in that case, everybody, and within 24 hours, at least is meditating on 8 hours, right? Spend 8 hours meditating, right? He said, how come? Because, everybody sleep at least 8 hours. So while you are meditating and sleeping, of course, you're not consciously, deliberately working on anything. You just like the self sort of pilot, right? It lets the go, and there's no really purpose. You're not try to achieve anything, and rather just let it go by its own and itself. So, and then he corrected him, say meditation doesn't. The abbot of Drepung Kwa-Meng and my teacher corrected this individual, say meditation doesn't mean you shut down your 5 senses. Okay? And then you sort of just there and be yourself and by yourself and is there. No, meditation has to engage in a specific object of meditative concentration. A specific meditative object of meditative concentration. In this case, of course, is loving kindness, compassion, and wisdom. I hope I answered your first question. And second question about the selfless in terms of meditation. So if I understand your question correctly, yes, moral ethic, selfless meditation, and is superior. Why? Because but if you only you did it correctly, okay, and the selfless, you bring the moral ethical practice in the meditation with the selflessness, the wisdom that understands the selflessness is this. So while you meditate, right, you reflect upon there's a selflessness of person. There's no inherently existent self who is meditating there, right? The person is not the self. The inherently existent self is not the one who is meditating, right? Or the individual who is the meditator who is not inherently existent. One, right? And then secondly, the very meditation you are practice is also devoid of inherently existence. Okay? And then the action of meditating, right, itself is also devoid of inherent existence. If you be able to, right, catch these 3, what we call the objectivelessness, the 3 wheels of objectivelessness meditation. Okay, the wheels of 3 objectivelessness meditation. If you be able to catch this essence, then I would say yes, the meditation and moral ethics and practice in such a way is definitely superior.
Oh yeah, that let's put that.
I wish yeah, both answers make sense. If it doesn't make sense, and you gotta forgive me because that's all I have here in my head. Right, now let's do the prayers.
Page number 80.
Oh.
Cha Nande de Sawar Shepar Se Je Yahweh Ma Shon La Do Shan Jo Lan Je Ta Do Lan Je La Yahweh Da Ba Ron De Zhong Zhi La Zhong De De He Jie Zhi Xi Xiang Ga Jian Se Xi Me Gong Me Men Ce Ru Guan De Yao Yi Ma Ba Yi Nang Da Lang Dang Zhe Wer Ma Jie Ji Gan Ci Tao Ba Xiu La Ji Ju Zhi Ce Yin Zhe La Zong Ba Di Yi Tu De Nan Ye Da De Zhou Xi Zha Xi Yang Zuo Shou Gen Zha Ji Ba Lin Za Wei La Ma Ren Bo Xi De Hui Yin Er Ba Ni Gang Xu La Ga Zhen Xian Bo Wu Ni Ji Zong De Wu Song Du Jie Wu Zhou Sa De Su Shang Zhou Sen Zhou Ren Bo Ji Ma Ji Wa Ne Ji 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 Jie Wa Niang Ba Me Ber Yang Gong De Gong De Pei Wer Xiu Gang Re Re Wei Gu Wei Shang Gang De Ben Dong Zhe Wo Ma Lin Zhong Wei Ni Zha Li Zhang Den Xie Jiang Su Yi Xia Bei Sen De Ba De Den Ji Ji Yang Ba Ba Wu Jie De Ren Tian Ba Dang Gun De Song Wu De Yang De Jin De De Da Gen Ji Ji Si Da Lo Shi Ye Wa De Da Tang Ji Ram De Mu Ye Song Xiao Bei Jia Wa Tam Ji Ji Ngo Wa Gang Wa Chu De Nga Ba De Da Yin Li Wei Za Wa De Gong Jiang Gong Wu Chu Shi Ra De Ngo Wa Ren Ji Pan De Zhong Li Dan Ba Dar Shang Yi Dan Zhen Jie Wu Tam Zhi Gang Gang Zang Li Zhen Gen La De Xie Zhong Wei Ni Sang Ye Dan Ba Da Du Yi Zhi Ju Ce Ru Gen De Ya Wa Zong Ka Wei Tang Shu Xi Yin Ren Ge Si De Bei De Ya Wei Nga De Lang Zang De Nie Li Ge Jie Zang Yang De Ba Ma Ji Ji Na Ba Ni Ba Ni Do Ne Le Da Shu Ji Zhu Wei Ne Ne Ma Lo Ba Da Wa Me Ber Shu Ne Ba La Gu Wei Na Shu Su Jian Su Men De Sam Yuan Ni Bei Chu Wang Ma Le Ma Chu Sun Den Bei Zhen Ne Ju 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 好，哦，他妈这是的啊，老手，哎呀。
Thank you all and goodbye. Taking care. 谢谢。
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Tenzin.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be well, everyone.
Bye bye.
我去顶这个。
啊。